whether you see me afternoon, evening, daytime, whatever time you see me. Appreciate everybody that's going to tune in tonight. Today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about our subconscious mind and the importance of it. For those that maybe have been following me or don't know who I am, my name is Arnold Austin. I'm a certified coach through John Maxwell. And over a period of years, I've as part of my practice, I'm teaching individuals how they can actually have healthier lives. And I'm not just, like I said, I'm a relationship coach, but I also deal in all of the other areas as well, as far as, people's finances, their relationships, their health, and their spirituality, because healing is a total, I believe in healing as a total package. So it's not just you healing a relationship, but what was the cause of the relationship? It's not you healing your finances, but what is the cause of you having the financial difficulties? It's not just you healing where you are spiritually, but you finding out what is the cause of where you are and how you're stuck in your spirituality. And so when we talk about why so many are stuck in their process or in life, a lot of us, what I found is that I was stuck. And I'm going to give you just a brief story. A number of years back, I was in the real estate business. I was also out in the construction company for a number of years. And part of that is about 18 years into that business, before it was really popular, I started getting involved with buying a lot of properties. And in the process of buying these properties, of course, we would flip them and go through that whole process. So we would go in there, we would buy certain properties, or I would find certain properties. I would go in there and kind of inspect them, look at the windows, look at the walls, check the floors, check all the main pieces to make sure the thing was in decent enough shape. And so in the process of doing that, what I would end up doing is I would make an assessment of what I thought it was worth. And this story is going to get to a point. It's going to get you to a point. So I hope for those that watch it, bear with it. And if you can, go like, subscribe, and follow this page. Also hit that bell notification. And so through this process, what happened was around 2019 or 2020, I believe it was somewhere in 2020, I ended up buying two properties pretty much at the same time. It was within a couple of weeks, something like that. And in the process of buying these properties, I wasn't really, because I had been doing properties for so many years, and I knew in the back of my mind, I owned a construction company and I had guys that could go in there and take care of things. In my mind, I felt like there was nothing that really could come up that would be too much of a challenge for me personally, or my crews or my guys or whatever. but the mistake that I made was that I overestimated my ability. And so when I went in there and started getting involved with these properties, appreciate everybody that's in here. Thank y'all for the taps and the shares. And so as I went in there and I started looking at these properties and I started kind of tearing down the cabinets and different things like that, what I noticed was that there was a lot of more damage in this property than I anticipated. And why I'm talking about that is because when you look at our subconscious, your subconscious is a key element. How you doing, Cherry? Or Chanu? I can barely see your name. Is a key element in your decision making. And this is why I'm talking about this, because a lot of the decisions that we make, it's subconsciously somewhere in our minds why we make those decisions. And sometimes the decisions that we make, it's self-sabotaging decisions. Part of what I did as a mistake was because I was in such a rush, and I came from a background of, you got to hustle, you got to keep going, you got to figure it out, you can't, and I was part of that hustle mindset. And then I grew up in a religion that believed in lack. I was always trying to find that next deal, and on these deals, because I needed to get these deals closed, or I needed to get them locked in before someone else bought them. So I just bought them because I owned a construction company at that time, and which I had owned for a number of years. And so my point with all of this is that by me making that decision, it pretty much put me out of business. It cost me because, this was around COVID time. And because of COVID, I sat on these deals, and every month I'm paying, all the bills in my regular house. And I got two other homes, and I got the debts from them, whether it's electric bill, whether it's the gas, to keep the gas on, because I'm in Jersey. I'm in Jersey. So you got to make sure you keep the heat on and all the other things that go along with it. Then I have lenders that I have to pay back money that lent me, whatever it was to build, to either to go in there and remodel the home and to do the flip and do the whole deal. And I'm telling y'all this story because a lot of the decisions that I made up to that point, I didn't realize I was making decisions from a place of lack. I was making decisions from a place of lack because my mindset was, growing up in the beliefs that I was in, was that, better is it to be, more of a humble spirit, and to be, It basically was, it was like, it was harder to go for a rich man to go through an eye of a needle than a wealthy man to make it into the kingdom of God. And I heard all this stuff as a kid growing up. And I'm not, and part of why I'm sharing that is because I didn't realize the full impact that things like that had on my mind. And so what would happen in a number of years, I would have a lot of success, very high success. And then that next year I would be down pretty low. So I had a lot of ups and downs in my years within business. I am still in business now, but I've transitioned to another place because, going through the relationship issue that I went through, it changed my mindset. And I went through a process where I wrote a book and I went through that whole journey. And through this, I started really seeking out my healing. And part of the healing is what I'm trying to share with people is the major part that people need to deal with concerning healing. And I'm saying this as a certified coach now, is that, if you want to deal with people and deal with healing, it's got to be from a subconscious level, because most of the things that that people say are problems are generally, what I found, are just symptoms of a greater problem. So if me as a relationship coach, if I meet a couple and I see guilt wounds in a person, or if I see abandonment wounds, or if I see trust wounds or neglect wounds, what that's actually telling me in my mind is that there's deeper issues, there's a deeper problem than what they would diagnose or call that problem to actually be. And so part of it is because I believe that there's not a lot of addressing the actual cause of why are there these issues. Part of the reason why there's these issues is because we have an influx of people that don't understand the importance of their subconscious mind. When you understand your subconscious mind controls 90% of your life. Your involuntary muscles, your involuntary bodily functions, your habits, your decision making, your long-term thought process. So a lot of the problems that people have in their lives, whether it's being disciplined and trying to go to the gym, whether it's trying to build a business, whether it's dating people, but you keep meeting the same people in different bodies and different races. All that's saying is that there's some kind of programming within your own mind that has you in a place where you're repeating the same cycle over and over again, because you're maybe not seeing that there's something within our own minds that's allowing us to connect, allowing you to draw in those same people, whether it's in a different body or in a different race or a different place, or maybe it's a long-term relationship, but you're still meeting the same person indirectly. And so if that's the problem, or if that's something that's happening, you got to look at what is the root of that? Where is it coming from? The root of it and where it's coming from is from the subconscious mind. That's where 90% of the issues in our lives are coming from. And the only way to change that is to go through a process of learning how to reprogram it. And learning how to reprogram our mind, there's many people that had books out on this topic, and it's been studied and it's been talked about. But the point of the matter is, many people that were teaching the topic of subconscious and programming, thank y'all for the taps and the likes and for being in here, was many of the individuals that was teaching this information, they taught it back in the 1930s, let's say, or in 40s, because a lot of books are written earlier, or an earlier part. And so the problem is things have changed since that point. And so me studying this stuff and looking at, I came up with an idea based upon a lot of the information out there and a lot of the studies that I've done on this topic. And one of the things that I found is that the biggest challenge is that people are trying to reprogram their subconscious from their conscious mind. The problem with that is that you're consciously aware that you're trying to reprogram your subconscious. But our subconscious, you get better effects from it by not being in a conscious state. All of the studies that you'll look at on this topic will verify that when our brain wave, it gets to a slower state, as right before, like we're about to go to sleep, or we're about to take a nap, or we're in a meditative state, that is the most opportune time for us to start putting different information in our minds of the events that we are looking to take place in our lives. It's not why we're wide awake and we're in our full conscious awareness. That's not the opportune time. What it is you'll put yourself in a place where your two minds are battling. That's what the biggest problem with most people in society is, or what the biggest problem is that your conscious mind, you're consciously aware that I'm sitting in front of you. You're consciously aware that I got a Phillies baseball hat on. I got a black shirt on. I'm talking to you. You're consciously aware of all these things. Subconsciously, if I had music playing in behind the scenes, you wouldn't be really as much focused on that. because that's that underlying message that's being played behind the scenes. And so that's the way the subconscious works. So the easiest way to train that part of our minds or to influence it would be to talk to it in the same way that it talks to us. And so how does your subconscious talk to you? Your subconscious talks to you in dreams, in visions, but it also talks to you in stories. It talks to you in signs and symbols. Signs and symbols. It talks to you when you ask questions. When you ask questions, I mean, this can be proven. I mean, there's just so much information that can validate this. If you ask your subconscious a question as you're going off to sleep and you say something to the effect of, what is the simplest and easiest way that I could do ABC? You might dream it. It might be the first thought when you wake up in the morning that you'll get an answer to that question. Because part of the way that mind, our subconscious mind, is set up is that it's set up to answer all of our questions. That's why the answers that you're looking for are within you. Your answers that you're looking for are within you. One of the biggest challenges with life is that so many people are looking for everybody else to give them an answer concerning their own life. Instead of understanding that you have the power. You are the most powerful being that exists. If you connect into your power. In order for you to connect into your power, is part of you connecting into that part of your mind, that subconscious part of your mind, which is controlling 90% of your life. And stop focusing on the 10% that controls, or the other part of our mind that controls 10%, our conscious mind. So it's understanding the power that is within you. And that power that's within you is based upon you understanding how to start reprogramming that part of your mind that controls 90% of your life. And you do that through the things that you're placing inside your mind. And so what I came up with is a theory to help people to create a bedtime story. Because the easiest time to integrate information into your subconscious is through not through our conscious level, but through a subconscious level. Through a level where when we're going off to sleep, when we're in a meditative state, because that's when we're most susceptible, most receptive. And so what you would do is I'm showing individuals how to write out a bedtime, I'm calling it a bedtime story. And in this bedtime story, they're describing the perfect life. What would that perfect life look like? What would that perfect relationship look like? And I'm not just talking about your intimate relationship. I'm talking about your personal relationships, your business relationships. What would those relationships look like? And so you would go through a process. I would take you through the process of understanding what do healthy and good and satisfying relationships look like to you? What would that feel like? What would that look like for you? What would that look like for you? And I would take you through that journey of looking at what does that look like? And not only what does that look like, what does that feel like? How would that feel? How would that feel to have that perfect relationship? Thank you all for being here. Thank you for tapping the screen. Appreciate you being in here. What would that look like to have what would that perfect relationship look like? What would that feel like? What would being financially free, what would that look like for you? What would a day in the life look like for you? Would you drive maybe a different car? Would you sleep in a little bit later? Would you look at some investments? What would a day like that look like for you as a person? What would you do different than maybe what you're doing now? Would you give something to charity? Would you help another person that maybe is in need? I mean, what would you do? Because a lot of people want things. They want the money, they want the power. But what would you do different? What would you do if you were given those things? If someone gave you $1 million today, do you even know what you would do with those things? This is part of why I'm asking these questions, because part of you creating that life that you're wanting. There's got to be a part of you that understands what you would do with that life. What would that health, that perfect or that level of health look like? Where you have healthy relationships, not only healthy physically, but you're healthy mentally, physically, emotionally. That you are healthy in totality, in the completeness of who you are as a person. That you're not just healthy from your words, but your actions manifest healthy. That you're not trying to manipulate people and be deceptive and do all these crafty things which to undermine people, but that you're coming from the place of being just a healthier individual. And what does being healthy in your spirituality look like? Are you practicing? Are you practicing the things that you're talking about? That would be my question. Because part of us understanding the power that's within us and knowing that we can develop the power to create the things that we want, what are you going to do with those things? What would you do with those things? What would you give back, or how would you help other people in the process of you receiving all of these things? Until society understands the importance of their minds, and not only understand the importance of their mind, but understand the importance of their conscious mind versus their subconscious. And understand, as long as we have a conscious mind that is in conflict with a subconscious mind, then we're going to always have clashes. We're going to have clashes. And as long as we're having clashes, we're not allowing our minds to join together. And when our minds can join together, what happens is, when you say an affirmation, if you say that I am prosperous, or you say that I am blessed, or I am financially free, or if you say that this message is going all over the world and people are receiving it and are receptive to it, if you're saying that with your words from a conscious level, but if your subconscious is saying no, you're not, then that's where I'm talking about the battle and the clash comes in. Because you have one part of you that's saying what you would desire and what you expect and what you want, but then there's another part of you that's going based upon your past. Based upon your past and your reality of what has happened up to this point. This is why I'm saying the reprogramming process is so critical. The reprogramming process of your mind is very vital and critical for any person that wants their life to no longer be the same. It'll allow us to make better decisions. A lot of people are making bad decisions based upon not realizing that they have programmed in their mind decision-making process based upon their past. And the past decision-making process wasn't an effective decision-making process. And so until you change that, then it's just a continual duplication of that same process over and over and over and over again. Over again. So I appreciate y'all being here today. Again, my name is Arnold Austin. I am a relationship trauma coach out of Jersey. I have a conference that I'm putting together for 3 days. And over that 3-day period, we're going to be talking about the subconscious, the importance of it, what you need to do to get control of that subconscious and to retrain it and to reprogram it. And in the process of going through that process of reprogramming it and rechanging it, you're going to learn how to take control of your life, and that your life will no longer be the same, but that you're going to walk in the true power and in the true fullness of the power that is within you. And you're going to be able to manifest and have the things that you want through your life. And if you're desiring more information, DM me down in the comments and say help. And what I'll do is I'll send you out a link for the 3-day event. It's a small fee to be a part of it. And like I always say, I believe in each and every one of you, but you got to believe in yourself. Thanks a lot. Have a great day.